talk about what we were seeing on Friday as far as the rejection of 44.75 and that downside move. I'm on replay here, and this chart is a 3-minute chart. This is what we're going to mainly focus on. I do have a volume chart up here, which would be similar to maybe a 1 or 3-minute chart. But what I have up here is a session volume profile, and then down here I have a weekly volume profile. Now, when price moves up and out of a session volume profile, I'm also going to have a weekly and monthly volume profile up, so I have reference for levels and areas of liquidity, high volume, low volume, that price has been recently in the past. Okay, so what I am seeing here, it's about 9:50 Pacific time in the morning. What I am seeing here is that price is wicking away from this low volume node here. Now, why is that important? That is important because what that tells me that price or participants are not motivated enough to seek lower prices in this high volume node. So as long as this low volume node here is respected, and you can see it goes as far as right there, that little sliver, and that's exactly where price wicked away. As long as that's respected, then my current thought process is, let's see if we continue to get responsive buying from this high volume node here, and if price works through this low volume node up through here to hit 79. That would be our next target. So we're going to speed this up a little bit more. At this point in time, I was still in a long position, and I took profit, as I always do, 2 points away from the next trend line. So my final profit target was 73. Okay, so I'll move this over some. I do have it sped up because I don't want to make you guys sit here for an hour. But you can see, what I want you to see is what I should say, is how price is respecting this high volume node and respecting this low volume node, which means that, because I don't always like using that word respecting, but I know that a lot of people refer to it as that, and so I want to explain what that means. What respecting would mean, like I was saying earlier, is price is not seeking this volume here, and price is having responsive buying off of this volume here. Okay, so far we've gotten a wick away from 44.75, but I still have responsive buying here, and I have not gone lower than this low volume node here, and so I am still thinking that even though I'm out of my position at this point, my long position, I'm still going to see what the reaction is going to be here because I don't have a reason to short at this point. Now, could you take a short position like here at 75, 76, something like that, and then put a stop right above it? Absolutely yes. I tend to like a little bit more confirmation, especially in a strong trend day where we had all of this consolidation here, and then price finally broke above a key resistance and has broken above this large volume node here. So I want to make sure that I'm not going to be fighting the trend when price might actually be seeking this high volume up here. Okay, so now I'm going to speed this up a little, even a little bit more, because I believe we didn't get the downturn until something like 10:30 or so. And that's about 15 minutes away on the clock that I have. So you can see here, one thing I would like you to see here is that volume is building at this shelf here. So we're filling in some of this low volume area. So I still don't really have a reason to short. I'm seeing volume build in this area. I'm not seeing it build lower. I'm not seeing it build higher. That's what I'm paying attention to right now. Okay, so now I'm starting to see upside wicks, whereas before we were seeing downside wicks. Let me make this a little larger. I wanted you guys to see this big picture and why I am seeing that this is such a strong trend and a breakout or squeeze from this consolidation. So now that we've looked at that, let's zoom in a little bit so you can see these candles better. Okay, So you see here, we've got a wick down, a wick down, a wick down, okay? We're all respecting or wicking away or not, prices not wanting to seek this liquidity. That's what those wicks are telling me here. And then we get our first wick up. This doesn't mean that I'm going to take action, but I am noticing that. Okay, so we're still sitting on that high volume node and trying to push up into the low volume area. Now remember, if price is going to go through a low volume area, it needs enough participants to want to pay higher prices, you know, participants who need large orders, or a majority of the crowd, they want to be able to seek this price here and this price here. So they need to be motivated to pay higher prices to get through this low volume. So you need a lot more volume of participants, volume of orders to move through those low volume areas. Okay, so we're still watching them sit on that high volume node right now. Move this over some. So sometimes I like to push price over to the volume profile because it just gives me a visual of where it's sitting. But then I'll also move it out here so you guys can see it. Okay, so we're getting our first push down into this low volume area. So do you see what I'm saying? What this is telling me here, price, participants, whatever you want to call it, are not motivated enough to push price up to want to pay these higher prices at 80, 83, 88, and 85. And 85 is actually the weekly point of control as well as the current monthly point of control. So that is the major cost basis and or the high volume node. And so if price is not willing to go through this low volume area to seek this liquidity, that's a very, very big sign to me. So what am I thinking now? What I'm thinking now is, hold on a second. If I missed shorting at 75, if I didn't want to do that strategy where I see this consolidation, I see a low volume node, I take a position between 73 and 76 with a stop at like, I don't know, 77 and a half, something like that. If I miss that, I need to wait. I need to wait and see what happens. I need to see some kind of a retest. I need to see what price is going to tell me. Let it tell you what it's going to do. So what we have here, so we have this downside move, okay? And now what I'm watching is my higher volume node here, my higher volume node here, okay? And the low volume area here. And I am going to let price tell me which area it's seeking by its retests, okay? So as you could see up here, like we were talking about, price was not motivated to go into this low volume area. It wasn't motivated to go into this low volume area. But now we are going into this low volume area. So do I know if price is going to come down to 68 and then bounce? That's very, very possible. But also price could come up to 74, 73 and reject from there. That would be responsive selling. This would be responsive buying. So we want to see one of those things to give us confirmation. This is going to be told to us by a lower high in this instance. And yes, we know what's going to happen because we've seen this happen already. But also I would be looking for, just in general, higher highs, higher lows, lower highs, lower lows. So in this aspect, if we're thinking it's going to be a downside move because of this big candle is going to elicit a big emotional reaction in us to want to jump in short, and if we miss it, we need to wait for price to tell us confirmation, then what I'm going to be looking for is a lower high. What I'm going to be looking for is that hopefully price just doesn't plummet through this volume node and I really miss the move, but what I'm looking for is hopefully price will give me some kind of a retest of this area of either this low volume node at 72.75 or this high volume node at 74. So we already have a line here at 74. So let me put a line at that 72.75 so that we can all keep. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So we can all keep an eye on it. Okay, so we'll put a line here at 72.75. Okay. So what we see here is that price is so far respecting that little bit higher volume node. And see, we got that responsive buying. See that wick? See this wick right here, right off of it? Now we have this responsive buying coming up. Okay, and so what we're going to see now is where does price wick away from next? Look at that. Okay, so we're coming right up to this higher volume node and testing it. Now what we want to see is where is volume building and also where is price wicking away from. If we wick away from that high volume node, that would tell us that we're getting responsive selling from that area. Okay, so we're wicking away so far. We're not eating into that volume yet. Here's our next candle, and you see that somewhat doji form, right? So that's a good sign for a downside move. I would like to maybe see one more candle. Everybody's a little bit different on this. So you could short right here and put your stop. I would put it right above this volume node at 75.75. I'm just trying to tell you guys, I do that sometimes, but I'm trying to tell you guys what I actually did that day, what was real life and my real in the moment reaction, because this had been such a strong uptrend squeeze and I knew the point of control was at 85. I really kind of wanted a good confirmation that this was going to be a downside move. But there are so many right ways to play this. I'm going to replicate exactly what I did on Friday. Okay, so let's get this next candle. See, we're wicking away from that high volume node there. All right, this is looking very promising. I want to see this candle close, and then what I think I'll do is I'll go ahead and enter. All right, so I'm going to enter short. Okay, so let's talk about how I put my stop. So my stop is going to be above this high volume node that I have been seeing responsive selling. So I'm going to put this stop right here, 75.75. And then I'm going to put my first profit target where I think I could see some responsive buying where we did last time, right above. So I'll put it right there at 69.25. My last profit target, if I'm playing channel to channel, I'm going to get it down to 2 points away from my next trend line, so that'd be 44.60. And this middle profit target, I'm going to put it where I think I could see a little bit of a bounce, so let's put it maybe at 65.50. That seems good enough. All right. Okay, and let's see how everything played out. You can see we're still wicking away. See these wicks here? This is great. Wicking away from the low volume node. I want to continue to see that. Okay, there's our first profit target. I'll move this over some. And there's our beautiful downside move. See how price was motivated to get to this volume area, right? And then it's going to pause a little bit here. And then I'm hoping it'll chew through this volume and get down to my final profit target at 44.60. All right, so far looking pretty good. Those wicks, I will tell you in real life, I saw this wick and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's actually gonna get down to there, but that is my strategy, is to put my final profit target, around 2 points away from the next trend line. And I know that I'm gonna be trailing my stop based on the last low volume nodes or high volume nodes that were rejected. And so I was getting responsive selling from this higher volume area and price rejecting this lower volume area. So I'm putting my stop now at 69. You see price wicking away from that higher volume area. Let's move over a little bit here. Okay, good. So we're still wicking away from that higher volume area. That's all looking very promising. And what I like here is I'm seeing volume build down here. So basically when price gets into this low volume area, I don't see volume building. Okay, when price gets down to this area, I see volume quickly building. So that is one thing I would like you to keep an eye on right now. Let me move this over some. There, and see now we're working through some of that low volume area. I'm sorry, we're working through some of that high volume area. Now I would expect a little bit of a bounce here when it gets to be low volume until price is motivated to get down to that 44.60 area. Almost there. And I will tell you, these last 10 minutes or so of being in this trade, it kept getting down to like 61.60. And I think, I'm trying to remember, but I believe I'd have to go back and check, but I believe I did increase my my final profit target to 61. And then it did get to 60, but that's okay. That's what happens, right? No complaints for getting a fill, you know, from the top up here all the way down to 61. Well, I hope that helps. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but that is a quick idea of how I look for confirmation using a volume profile for a downside move when we've had a nice, strong squeeze to the upside in somewhat of a trend day.